Hey everyone, welcome to On the Road DFS. Here on this channel I will be talking DFS sports as well as regular fantasy when each season comes around. Just getting this channel started and I'm really excited to see if we can grow and hopefully build a community here around fantasy sports. So for our first episode today, I'm just going to be talking about my NBA picks as well as my overall takeaways from the finals up to this point and what I expect to happen in Game 6 in Milwaukee. First things first, I got to talk about my overall takeaways here. Got my trusty iPad. It's going to be my analytics tool in all these videos. So you see me glancing down, I'm probably just checking out some stats or some notes I wrote for myself here. So storylines I wrote down while watching Game 5. I said advantage Holiday over CP3. I feel like that goes without saying at this point. We'll touch on this later, but they're the exact same price on Fanduel now. But they're both 13.5 over there, and I think Holiday has just been outplaying him. I think Paul is pretty clearly hurt. I think the shoulder is re-aggravated. And one-armed CP3 versus a healthy and fully motivated Drew Holiday. I'm giving the advantage to Holiday for the rest of this series unless Chris Paul's shoulder somehow magically heals, which, if anything, it looks like it might be getting worse. I know he actually played better in Game 5 than he did Game 4, so we'll see, but certainly doesn't look like himself in any case. All right, next note, Tucker foul trouble. PJ Tucker, man, he can't seem to stay out of foul trouble. He's got a tough assignment. He's guarding Booker a lot of the time, and we know Booker likes to flail. Credit to what Booker's been doing, but, I mean, if you're guarding Booker, you're probably going to get a lot of fouls called on you. And PJ Tucker has been a nice value play on FanDuel and DraftKings, but it's tough to play him now, and it seems like he's in foul trouble in the second half of basically every game. So that's something I'm going to touch on the FanDuel side a little more as well. Let's see what else we have here. The Bucks' rusty start to Game 5. It's true, they looked really bad in the first quarter, and then they just came alive. I feel like Chris Middleton actually followed the exact trajectory of the Bucks team. He came out really bad. I played him in FanDuel, and I was not looking good after quarter one. But afterwards, the Bucks came alive. Chris Middleton himself came alive. So we'll just have to see if the Bucks get off to another slow start in Game 6. It'll be worth watching. Don't give up hope if they do. Giving some credit to Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder really stepped up, his second NBA Finals in a row here. And I think particularly when Dario Saric went down, his minutes increased slightly, and he's really stepped up. I mean, for the most part, he's been nailing his threes, and he's been a good play on DFS for the most part as well. Although, again, this is something I'm going to touch on later. The Mikal Bridges versus Crowder, it's something to think about when you're playing those utility slots because it really, it's getting tough. Lopez, more minutes. Lopez played a lot in Game 5, but the production just wasn't really there. It was, I mean, the commentators were talking about it. Everybody noticed it. The Bucks were trying to go with some big lineups there for a while, and it worked, but I still don't feel great about rostering Lopez, and I will touch on that on the FanDuel segment as well. Then my last note is just Pat Connaughton, man. He's nailing his threes. Pat Connaughton, he's been crucial for the Bucks, honestly, and there's a lot of storylines in these finals, but I think that one's getting a little bit overlooked up to this point. But Pat Connaughton really doing a great job for the Bucks, so I will touch on that once again on the FanDuel section, which I will start right now.
On the Road Fanduel Predictions.
All right, so looking at FanDuel, you got to realize first of all that FanDuel, I believe, is like one game behind in their pricing. Those of you that have been playing for a while or this whole series even probably know what I'm talking about. For instance, Devin Booker's price went down for the game after his 42-point game. I think in response to the game before that when he didn't play well. So FanDuel is a game behind in their pricing from what I can tell. So keeping that in mind here, the obvious up top we have Giannis, 16K. I don't think you can go wrong playing him as long as he doesn't get injured, which is kind of a risk. I know he's looked great. He's looked a lot better than people thought he would coming off the injury. But he has been slow getting up the court, honestly. Sometimes he does look worse for wear. He has the crazy highlights, the crazy stat lines at the end of the game, and I'm very thankful for that. I've been playing a lot of Giannis. You kind of have to, but there is a risk that one of these games he will get injured, and if it happens, it happens. But obviously, we would never hope that, and I plan personally to continue rostering Giannis in that MVP slot, but everyone can make their own decision. You can make some great lineups if you pass on Giannis because the depth it gives you with your salary is just insane. But, I mean, there were definitely a lot of lineups actually last game that cashed big time without Giannis in the lineups because I believe Drew Holiday was the top play, for instance. So you never know. Someone could step up on either team and actually have a better game from a DFS perspective than Giannis. So then we have Middleton at 14K. I personally don't love that price. I know he's had 2 straight good games now. I rolled the dice and played him last game, hoping he'd play well back-to-back games. And like I said, he started out very slow, as the Bucks did as a whole. But he turned it on, and it went really well. 3 games in a row, do I trust Middleton 3 games in a row? If he wasn't 14K, I would say maybe. I personally am going to stay away from him, but at the end of the day, all this is just my take on this. If you see it differently, feel free to comment. I mean, feel free to just do your own thing. This is just the way I see it. So I know a lot of people like to bounce ideas off of each other with this type of thing. So I'm just voicing my opinion out there, and yeah, let me know what you think. I personally think Middleton at 14K is asking a little much in the salary. But let's see what we got next here. Oh yeah, it's the twins here, Chris Paul and Drew Holiday, the 13.5 twins right here. So I personally would take Holiday, and I mean it's pretty simple. He seems a lot healthier than Paul. Paul actually had a pretty good stat line last game when it was all said and done, but Drew Holiday had a much better stat line, and a lot of that's the steals. I mean, Drew Holiday, let me pull up these stats here. Last game, Drew Holiday, 41 minutes, 27 points, 4 rebounds, 13 assists, a block, and 3 steals. All right, in his last 2 games, he's gotten 3 steals in each. So, I mean, keep that in mind. He's been a steal animal. I don't know. We know what he brings to the table at this point. Drew Holiday's a defensive menace. And he hasn't gotten 3 in every game this series, obviously. He had 1 there in Game 3, 2 in Game 2, and he actually did not have a steal in Game 1. Game 1 was just Holiday's worst performance of these finals by far, actually, was Game 1. So, he's gotten at least 1 steal in every single game. He's gotten 2 steals and then 3 and 3 in the other, or every single game aside from Game 1, excuse me. So, generally he gets steals, and that really does go a long way in your score, which brings me to the next guy, DeAndre Ayton. Now, his thing is the blocks. DeAndre Ayton has been someone I haven't been rostering that much, but honestly, I think I might, because he just seems like pretty model consistency here from DeAndre Ayton this series. So, Game 1, he put up 47.8 on Fanduel. Game 2, 44.2. Game 3, 32.8. Game 4, 40.9. Then Game 5, 40.5. So he also was in foul trouble Game 3. So the guy gets 40 or more whenever he's not in foul trouble. And with the big guys, you know, there's always a chance they could get in foul trouble. I mean, there's a chance anyone could get in foul trouble, but particularly the bigs. I personally think I'm going to find a way to roll with Ayton, though, this next game, Game 6, just because of that consistency. with some of these guys, like Middleton, for instance, I was concerned about what his final stat line was going to look like after quarter one. We all know it ended up looking great, but with Ayton, he's always going to get some rebounds, and he's usually going to get some blocks. Let's see here. Game one actually did not. Game two, he got two. Game three did not. Game four, he got three, and game five, he got two. So he's also gotten a steal in every game except game four. So I think Ayton is a good guy to go to, I guess is how I would summarize this. Really breaking this down here, but I like Ayton. Then we have Devin Booker at 12-5. Now, mark my words, if the Suns manage to win in Milwaukee in Game 6, like I said, Fanduel is a game behind in their pricing from what I can tell. Booker's going to be 13 at least, I think. He's going to go up some. He's just been on a tear recently. We all know this. I love the price, 12-5 for Devin Booker. In a must-win game for the Suns, I have no issue at all rolling with Devin Booker at 12-5. He had the very bad game 3, but aside from that has scored 43 or more in every single game. He actually, see, that's what's crazy to me. He actually got 56.3 last game. In the game he scored 42, he got 45.2. I think hardly anyone thought he was going to do better than he did in game 4, in game 5, and then he went out and did it. He didn't score, he scored 2 less, but he did a lot more of the other things like rebounds, assists, and 2 steals. That does not hurt at all, and a block. So that's what we got for Devin Booker. Next, Brook Lopez. Can't do it. I'm not going to do it. If you do it in like a tournament to kind of switch it up a little, good for you. It could turn out well. I already mentioned that they actually played Lopez a lot more than I was expecting to see last game. But I personally will not be playing Brook Lopez. Honestly, the price has a lot to do with it. I would be more comfortable rolling the dice on him if he wasn't 11K. Like, if you're telling me you're going to take a risk on a guy, fine, but you're going to take a risk on a guy who costs 11K salary on FanDuel, I don't know about that. I would not take that high price of a gamble, I guess. If I was going to take a gamble like that, I would take it on a lower utility guy down here. I don't want to spend 11K on a guy that might get me like 17. I don't even know. What did he get last game? I know he had the one. Yeah, he had a good game 1 and 2, decent, like around 30. But he got 13.2 last game. He hasn't scored above 17.2 in the last 3. I'm not touching that for 11K. Jay Crowder, 10K. Love him. Already said that I really like what he's been able to do this series for the Suns, really stepping up. The thing is, 10K is starting to really toe that line of like, do I want to pay this much for Jay Crowder? For me personally, I have not finalized my lineups in any way quite yet for Game 6, but I think I'm comfortable paying 10K for him. I did it last game. The prices stayed the same. I could see that going up to 10.5 if we have a Game 7. But that's going to be in response to what he did in Game 5 because, like I keep saying, FanDuel is a game behind with their pricing. His Game 5 was ever so slightly better than the next guy I'm going to talk about, which is Mikal Bridges. And it's interesting because Jay Crowder is ever so slightly more expensive than Mikal Bridges. So, I don't know. It's a 500 price difference. But Crowder has played. So Game 1, I almost just want to call a fluke for Crowder. That was the game Saric got hurt too. I really only want to look at Crowder post-Saric injury here. I think it's a lot more relevant. Not to ignore it. Like I'll say, upfront and honest here, Jay Crowder played 32 minutes, scored a point, and scored 12.8 FanDuel points in Game 1. But that was with Sarge in the rotation. That was Game 1. Ever since then, he has not done anything close to that in a positive way. 30.5, 29.7, 44.2, and then 26.5 last game. So you'd like him to do a little more than that in 40 minutes, which is what he played last game. But, I mean, the shots were there. He got off to a pretty good start last game. I think I'd say Crowder and Middleton were on, like, reverse trajectories with their games last night. It was really, Crowder kind of faded down the stretch. But I'm going to touch on Bridges now a little bit. Bridges, he is 9.5, 500 less than Jay Crowder. That pricing remains exactly the same as it was last game. He got 26.3. Now, I have no issue going to Bridges, and actually, it might be what I end up doing. I like Crowder, but if I identify a spot where I could use 500 more to really make an upgrade I have no issue at all going to Bridges over Crowder. Problem is, he has been pretty inconsistent, and like more so than Crowder. His minutes are also not quite on Crowder's level either, because like I said this already a million times, but I think the Sarge injury benefits Crowder a lot more than it benefits Bridges. But Bridges just has to hit his shots. They both do, but Bridges I think gets less shots than Crowder generally. So if Bridges hits some threes, we know he's good on defense. He could get some steals as well. And yeah, I like Bridges. Cam Johnson. Last game, I made a last-second adjustment to get Johnson out of my lineup because I liked Connaughton at a cheaper price. And honestly, I feel the same way. Nothing about his 9.8 performance makes me like him more than Connaughton for this game. The prices stayed the same. Let's see, he played 21 minutes. I can't really remember too many plays from Cam Johnson last game. Credit to him. I think he's done a good job overall. But just keep in mind that about 22 is his high, his ceiling for this series so far. His low has been actually last game, 9.8. So it's a risky play. I feel a little better going to Connaughton personally if I'm going in that range. Same price, Portis or Johnson. In terms of like who has the momentum, it seems like Portis lately has kind of been feeling it a little more. His minutes have been up as well, 18.6 last game. I'm fine with Portis. I'd probably go Portis over Johnson, I think, at this point. But again, that's your personal call. If you have a good feeling about Cam Johnson for Game 6, hey, roll with it. It might pay off big time. Do not make your decision solely based on what I'm saying. This is just the way I see it here. Pat Connaughton, 8.5. Love him. He helped me out big time. He played more than 30 minutes every game except Game 1. In Game 1, he played 28 minutes. So basically, what can I say? He's really stepped up. The DiVincenzo injury opened the door. He's been hitting his shots majorly. Now, is he going to shoot as well as he did last game, next game? I don't know, but generally he's scoring about 10 or more. He's in double digits most games. He had 8, so he was a bucket away. He's going to score. It seems like that's his whole thing at this point. He's going to score, so big credit to Connaughton. I love that play at 8.5, and the fact that it hasn't moved, they're behind on their pricing. Campaign, he stayed at 8K exactly here. He actually had a really nice last game, 22.8. Something to think about. Does he do it twice? Probably not, considering he hasn't done that the whole series. He had a 17.8 there in Game 3. But other than that, really, I don't know. If you want to roll with it, you can. I like the 8, I will say. That could help you kind of make a more unique lineup overall, sliding in an 8K guy that could get you 20 plus. I don't hate the pain play at all, actually. The more I think about it, it could pay off. and it seems like his floor is about 10 as well. So you just need to think about that. And no issue with the campaign play at 8K. Seems a little cheap. I talked about guys I thought were overpriced a little. I think 8 is a little bit under on campaign. PJ Tucker, 7.5. Already talked about it earlier. He's been in major foul trouble a lot of this series. And it's because he's trusted on defense to take on the best offensive player usually for the other team. And they've been taking advantage of it so far. The Suns have. They've really gotten him in foul trouble. I think he's done a decent job defensively. It's just he's been fouling, so he's been on the bench a lot. And 7.5 is a great price for a starter. I mean, that just is what it is. You're getting a starter for 7.5. Probably play around 30 minutes unless he's in foul trouble, which he consistently has been. So play Tucker at your own risk. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I am honestly in no man's land on the Tucker play. I might roll some lineups out with it just to see. Maybe he figures it out defensively this game. I don't know. And then the next two guys I'm just going to touch on briefly, and they're going to be the last guys I talk about today. Torrey Craig and Jeff Teague at 7K each. I like Craig better. I like the Craig play a lot better. Actually, I don't think either of them will do a whole lot. The reason you would make this play would really be to fit in some guys more at the top of your lineup, I would think. I mean, I don't think anyone's really enthusiastic about playing either of these guys, but if that 7K price and your utility allows you to make a play up near the top of your lineup that you like significantly enough to play Jeff Teague or Torrey Craig, then go for it. But just know, I feel like best case scenario, they drop 7, either one of them. I could be wrong. I could eat my words on that. I mean, maybe Torrey Craig goes off in Game 6. That would be very unexpected, but, anything could happen. So don't let me talk you down from something. I just personally don't think it's worth playing either of them, especially 500 more PJ Tucker. I feel like if you're really in that range, just cough up the 500 extra there, just play PJ Tucker. Anyway, those are my takes here for Game 6. I will be uploading more content here covering DFS and fantasy sports as a whole. We got fantasy football season coming up, so can't wait to talk about that. And also going to be dropping some very, very early NBA fantasy mock draft type videos as well. So if you like this type of content and want to help us build this community here, please leave a like, subscribe, and I look forward to bringing you more great content.